All right, students, I'm going to show you how to make a sculpture out of the simple kitchen foil paper. So if you have foil paper at home, you can, and scissors, I guess, as long as you have those two things, you can make this project. I like the heavy duty foil. Any foil will work though. I think the heavy duty is just a little better. And if you don't have foil, you know, I haven't tried this with like plain paper and stuff before. You can give it a whirl and see what happens. But if you got foil, give it a try. It works really, really good. So this piece is about 18 inches long. It does not have to be exactly that long. Just get it kind of close. And really, it's okay if it's a lot smaller. Your sculpture will just be smaller. This is the size I use here in the classroom, but whatever you've got is fine. So, like I said, I have an 18-inch ruler here, and I made my piece of foil about 18 inches long. Your figure, we're going to kind of cut out the major limbs here. We're going to make a human figure making a gesture. So you probably saw the notes on the side about this. And we're kind of thinking about Alberto Giacometti as our inspiration. He did bronze, so metal sculptures of these really long, thin, elongated looking figures with different gestures. So this kind of gives a similar look to him. And kind of like Giacometti, we are not going to add anything to our sculptures. There's not faces, there's not hair, there's not anything. It's just a plain outline of a figure, almost like a shadow. So the only thing you have is a gesture. That's really the only tool you have to show what you want to show with your sculpture. And a gesture is just the action kind of frozen in freeze frame. So think of an action, a person kicking a ball, frozen. And think of someone like flexing their muscles, almost like you took a picture of that person doing an action. You got to show that moment in time. You got to show that gesture with your sculpture. So let me show you how to do that, and then you can have a lot of fun with how you want to make your gesture. But let me show you how to get a person started. So with this foil, I'll mark with marker to show you. You don't have to do this part, but I want to show you where I'm going to make a few cuts. Here at the top, we're going to make two lines, two cuts. The middle one's going to end up being the head, and the two on the side are going to end up being arms. So we want to kind of make it equal thirds. So if you think, oh, of course, I grabbed a dried up marker. Of course. Hope you can see that. Let me try another one real quick. So you don't have to measure if you don't want. I mean, you can if you want to be super precise, but you just want to kind of get equal thirds. So look how wide your foil is, and make your two lines so it's cut up into 3 equal pieces. And the length, it kind of depends on how big your foil is. And you know, there's nothing really wrong with different lengths. Your arms will just be longer if they're longer lines, and they'll be shorter if they're shorter lines. My 18-inch foil here, my line is about 4 inches. So if you want to stick along with me, you can make them about 4 inches long. Let's see how far apart they are. Oh, they're, well, 3.5-ish inches wide. So about 3 to 4 inches wide and about, 3 to 4 inches long. That's probably pretty good. So that's the top. Now down here at the bottom, we're going to do one line in the middle, and these are going to be the legs. So we can do kind of about the same length, maybe a little bit longer. So let's go, I don't know, almost 5 inches. And we want to go about in the middle. So again, doesn't have to be perfect. This is just kind of a starting point anyways. So you don't even need a ruler really. Just find the middle and make yourself a line. About 5 inches, so for me it's about the length of my hand. And you can always make these a little longer later. This is just, a starting point. So I'm going to cut on those lines I made. Cutting right there. I'm going to walk around here. Cutting on the top. Okay, so already you can kind of see, looks kind of human figure, right? Arms, head, 2 legs. Now we're going to work kind of slowly at first. Everything you do, you can't really undo it. That's part of the fun and the challenge of the sculpture. As you squeeze your foil, you're making it more compact and making it tighter together. So once it's kind of tight, it's really hard, almost impossible, to loosen it again. So just start slow, start gentle. You can always squeeze it more. You can't ever really undo it though. So starting at kind of the middle of your foil, this is going to be like the waist of your person. Just really gently bring it together. And I mean gently. You don't have to bring it, we can squeeze it more later. We're just getting it started. So, kind of brought it together a little bit in the middle. And then each leg, I'm doing the same. I'm just kind of making this shape with my hand. Almost like sculpting with clay, but we're using metal, foil. So, Just really, right now my legs are really big. That's fine. Just kind of bring them together so they're round and not flat. So I'm making this kind of shape, bringing it together. I'll do the other arm. You guys kind of see my arms and legs are coming together. Now the head, I don't want to make a really long skinny head, so I'm not going to do this. I'm going to kind of make it like a ball. So I'm going to kind of do this hand motion. So I'm going to come behind it and kind of, I might poke it a little bit too. You kind of want to bring it together like a ball shape. And the one problem I see students have is that this neck, if they get too rough and too quick, they end up ripping it and losing their head. So just go gentle. And look at that. You can already see my persons coming together. So this is where you can start to compact it more, make it tighter, and focus on what you want your human, what you want your gesture to be doing. So I'm going to bring mine in a little bit. And you kind of want to plan a little bit to the beginning so you know where you're going. And you might want to think whether you want feet. If you want some flat feet, you might want to bring those out, kind of flatten them down. So you kind of take a little part of your leg and bend it upward and flatten it down. Just go slowly as you go. Bring things in. Like I said, once you squeeze it, you can't really undo it. And if something looks a little long to you, like your arms look long, you can always just fold it in and squeeze it tighter. So that way it gets a little shorter. So usually I like my arms sometimes a little bit shorter. Everything else is usually about right. So again with the head, kind of see it sideways here. Kind of making this motion, bringing it like a ball. Not going too tight. And you just kind of keep going and keep working it. Starting slow. You can always go tighter. You can always go smaller. Let's see. There we go. I've got little feet here. And now you might want to start thinking about what you want your figure to do. So let's say, I don't know. Maybe I want my person to be like clapping. I'm going to have them like do a little side clap to the side of their head. So I'm going to bring my little hands together right there. Think about where your elbow would be. Think about where your joints would be. So your knee, may want my knees bent a little bit. Your knees right about in the middle of your leg. So you got to kind of think about if you want a leg up, kicking or something. Yeah, maybe I'm like clapping and kicking. Multitasking here. And yours doesn't have to be completely as tight as it can go. It could be done like that. If you want it really slender and a little firmer, you can squeeze it tighter. You can go as tight as you want. If you want, it'll just be skinnier and firmer and smaller. I especially go gentle with that head too. Once you really squeeze it tight, there's not much you can do to bring it back. I'm gonna make little hand shapes here. We'll make little balls for hands. That's fun. Up to you. Make it the way you want. And if you want yours to be able to stand, these don't stand great on their own. Here in my classroom, oh, I should have showed you this first. We're going to be gluing it onto a piece of cardstock. If you have some leftover cardboard in your house, this is really the same thickness as like a cereal box. Or use some really thick paper or, you know, an old piece of wood. Make sure it's something that your parents are okay that you use. You can glue it down and then it's like a stand and it can stay up. We're also going to make labels here in the classroom. And we talked about titling, what you want to title your figure, and writing your name on it. So if you want to title yours, you may title it whatever you'd like. We looked at Giacometti's sculptures and how he always titled his something really simple. Like I named mine Flexing Figure. He has some called, you know, figure pointing, man standing, woman standing. I'm trying to remember more. I think some even have a number, like head number 1, head number 2. He made them really simple because he wanted people, when they looked at his art, he wanted them to make up their own mind and to think of what and imagine what they wanted to. So he didn't want to give a name too much description. He wanted people to kind of look at his art and come up with their own response, with their own emotional response and feelings and memory. So that was his kind of technique. You could do something like that, or you could give your name more meaning, like Mrs. Eckleberry clapping, or, you know, you'll name it like a dance move, like, I don't know, flossing, and you could make your figure floss. It's got to think of your action, though, and how you want to have your figure kind of frozen in time. So maybe that's mine, and I'm all done. I don't know what I would call this. Clapping and stomping. Yeah. Maybe I'm like at a concert, and I'm like getting really into the music. Whatever you'd like. I'm going to call that done for mine. I think I like it. So you can see it's pretty quick, and you can keep playing with it. And the fun thing is that it's still movable. So if you keep this around your house, you actually could change it later. Maybe you leave it there for a few days and then you decide you want a different action and a different gesture and you change it. Pretty cool, right? Plain old kitchen foil. It's about as cheap as it gets as far as art supplies and really, really fun. So give it a try. Make yourself a sculpture. Think of a gesture. Think of a body in movement and freeze that movement in time, like taking a picture of somebody moving. See if you can capture that. You might want to challenge yourself and try to capture something tricky, like some people even try to do an emotion. You can show an emotion with a gesture. Think of what you would do to this figure to make it look sad, or to make it look happy and excited, or to make it look sleepy. So think of what you want to show with your sculpture. And it's kind of hard because you only have the gesture. No words, no colors, just the gesture. Give it a try, challenge yourself, and have fun.